Hi team, happy Friday. This is the word study video for Friday, March 27th. Um, and I hope that you guys are having a great week. And let's just jump right in. All right, we're gonna start what we always start with, which is the word of the day. Get ready. Word of the day. 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 Today's word is dilapidated, and I'm going to read you a sentence, and I want you to give a shot to figure out what dilapidated might mean. The building was dilapidated, the roof was rusty, the ceiling was falling in, and the doors were boarded up. What do you think dilapidated might mean in that sentence? Take a second to write it down with your pencil. All right. Well, when I look at the sentence, I can tell that the building is kind of in a state of disrepair. It says the roof was rusty and the ceiling was falling in and the doors were boarded up. And that tells me it looks kind of like it's falling apart. And that's exactly what dilapidated means, in a state of disrepair or falling apart. So if you're describing a house as dilapidated, then it looks kind of like old and like it's falling apart. Usually only buildings are described as dilapidated. You wouldn't really describe a person as dilapidated. You would just say that they looked like they were old or they looked like they were a mess or something like that. So dilapidated is usually describing a building and it means old or falling apart. Cool. Let's move on to our word study concept of the day. So this is pretty similar to what we talked about yesterday. We're still kind of going over our past, present, and future verbs. We're just getting a little more practice today in how to identify what tense a verb is in. As a quick reminder, a verb is an action word and it can tell you about what you do or something true. For example, I can say I am waving. That's something I'm doing. Or I can also say I am 25. And am would be the word because that's something true about me. All right, so let's jump right in and check out what I highlighted. So every time I get a verb, I can put it in any tense I want. A verb is just like when you have a word that shares an action. It could be to eat, it could be to drive, to read, smile, to be. All of those are different actions of things that nouns or people, places, or things can do or be. Okay, so my example that I used, because I'm always a little bit hungry, is to eat. So if you remember yesterday, we had past tense, which means something that happened yesterday. Yesterday, I ate my snack lunch during snack time because I was hungry. Present, which means it's happening right now or it's always happening. Like I eat my lunch right now, or I eat my lunch at 11:40 because that would mean something I do every day. And then future, tomorrow I will eat a big burger for lunch. And as a reminder for the future verb, that's something that's always going to have another word in it. And it could be will, or it could be like, I am going to do something. All right, cool. So, in order to figure out what tense makes sense in the sentence, you kind of have to pay attention to what's going on in the sentence. And a lot of the words we talked about yesterday are really helpful context clues. For example, I know that if something already happened, then I'm going to need to use a past tense verb. Or if something is happening right now, I'll use a present tense verb. And I know if people are talking about future plans, I need to use a future tense verb. All right, all of that should be reviewed. So lock it in your brain and let's jump in. This is a lot of different writing that you're going to be doing today. So let's get started. We are going to, I'll give you a second. If you forgot to get your pencil and a paper, you should go do that now. If you already have a pencil and paper, think about what you're going to do this weekend that might be fun. I personally am going to go for a long run tomorrow, which is not super fun, but it'll be fun afterwards, and I'm proud of myself. Okay, you should have a pencil and your packet on the 327 word study page, which is right at the end of the book. Okay, we're going to write sentences using climb in the past, present, and future tenses. I'm going to model with the first one because this could be a little bit tricky. The present tense, let me think about it. It means it's happening right now or always happens. So I'm going to write a sentence like that. You don't need to write this one. You can just follow along. I am climbing a mountain, or I like to climb. That's something that's always true, and it always happens. Like I like to climb. In the past tense, that means that it already happened. So I could say, last summer I climbed Mount. Marcy. You can see there that the verb, which is climbed, looks different here. It has an ed because it's in the past tense versus in the present tense when it am climbing or just the word climb. And that's how I tell what tense it's in. In the future tense, let me think. Yesterday, right now, tomorrow. Okay. In the future tense, and I know with the future, I'm going to need to include another word, will. I will climb in the White Mountains this weekend. So here you can see that the verb actually has two words, will and climb, and that makes sense to me because I know future verbs need two words. Future tense verbs need two words, and that's will, or you could say I am going, like I am going to climb this weekend. You could say I am going to also show something that will happen in the future. All right, now it's your turn. Go ahead and take a minute to write 3 sentences with the same, doing the same thing. One in the past, which means yeah, you can add on yesterday or already. One in the present, which means right now, or something that always happens. And then one in the future, which is something that will happen. Take a minute to write down 3 sentences for dance. Take about 30 more seconds to finish up all 3 sentences. All right. The present tense is something that's happening right now or always happened. So I'm going to write, I dance at my family's parties. Or you could say, I am dancing with my little sister. That could be something that always happens or something that happens right now. In the past tense, I know it usually has ed and it has to have something that already happened. So it could be, I danced with my friends yesterday. Because yesterday shows that it already happened, and I know that there's an ed at the end of danced, so that makes sense. Future tense means something that will happen in the future. I will dance with my friends when the quarantine is over. All right. You can see right here I have 3 different tenses. Present tense, which would mean I dance or I am dancing. That's something that happens right now or always happens. Past tense, already happened. Future tense, will happen. All right, same thing with the verb jump. Go ahead, write your sentences. Take about 30 more seconds. Okay, present tense means it's happening right now or always happens. Say, I jump higher than my brother. Or I am jumping up and down. The first one is something that's always true. I always jump higher than my brother. And the second part says what I am doing right now. I'm jumping up and down. Past tense means it already happens, and usually that just means adding ed to the end of the word. I jumped into the water. In the future tense, it means something that will happen in the future. I will jump from the diving board this summer. I'm thinking about Jabari jumps. All right, cool. Nice job, team. Double check that your sentences match mine and make sure that your past tense is something that already happened. You can add on yesterday. Present tense is something that always happens or is happening right now. And future tense is something that will happen in the future. All right, we're going to move on to the next page and we are going to see if I can handle the pen today. So here we are working on circling the verb and then writing what tense it's in. As a reminder, we write P for present, P for past, PR for present, and F for future. First, we need to find the verb. What should I write with today? All right, with orange. All right, Keisha ran 3 miles. I'll do this one to model. The verb is ran. Now, this is tricky because if she ran 3 miles, I know it already happened, but it didn't end in ed. Some verbs, past tense, don't end in ed, so I just need to read correctly. Keisha ran 3 miles. I know she already did that, so I know that must be in the past. All right, I found the verb, and then I figured out what it was in, what tense it was in. Let's move to the next one. Rafelix went to the park. What's the action in that sentence? Is it park? No. Went. I'm working on it, guys. Went is the verb because that's what Rafelix did. Went. That doesn't end in ed either, but I know if you went somewhere, it already happened. And if it already happened, it's in the past tense. So I'm going to go ahead and write a P again here. Mia doodles in her journal. What does she do? She doodles. That's, oh my God. That's my verb. Okay. And what tense do you think that's in? That one's a little trickier. She doodles. Did it already happen? No. Is it going to happen? No. Doodles is something that always happens. And if I know something always happens, it must be in the present tense. Okay. Nehemiah will feed her pet octopus. Well, I know that the action is that she will feed. This one's pretty easy because whenever I see the word will, I know it's something that's going to happen in the future because it hasn't happened yet. Will feed. Go ahead and write F for future. Deanna compliments her brother every day. That's nice. What's the action word? What's the verb in this sentence? Compliments. And if it's something that happens every day, that means that it always happens, which means it must be in the present tense. Randy and Destiny traveled to the farm. Action word is traveled. I see an ed on the end, and I know that usually when I see ed, it's already happened. So it's in the past tense because I could add on the word yesterday there. Hasina will staple her life work to her backpack. What's the verb? Will staple. And I know that that is in the future tense because she hasn't done it yet and because I saw the word will. And if I know it, the verb is will, it must be going to happen in the future because I can add on tomorrow. Hasina will staple her life work to her backpack tomorrow. Isabel tied her shoes together and then tripped. There are 2 verbs there, so you can find them both. Yep, tied and then tripped. Now, both of those verbs are in the same tense. What do you think it is? Could those things happen yesterday? Yep. So both of those verbs are in the past tense. Jaylon swims backward in the pool. Verb is swims, because I know I can't backward, but I can swim. Jaylon swims. Could I add the word right now to that? No. Could I add the word always to that? Yep. So that verb must be in the sorry guys, the present. It's like watching a baby learn to write their letters. Yep. Cool. Jolise will borrow a pencil 6 times a day. A lot of you are like that. Will borrow is our verb because that's the action that she's doing. And if I see the word will borrow, or if I can add on tomorrow, I know it must be in the future tense because it has not happened yet. Derek wears a purple hat. Action here is wears. This is a little bit trickier. Could I add on yesterday? Derek wears a purple hat yesterday? No. Could I add on tomorrow? Derek wears a purple hat tomorrow? Nope. So it must be in the present tense. That makes sense because wears is something you can always do. Derek always wears a purple hat. That would make sense. Jeremiah rode a horse quickly. Action word is rode. That's our verb. Could I add on the word tomorrow? Could I add on the word always or right now? Nope. So that must be in the past. Gianna, hi Gianna, will jump over the moon. Will jump is our verb. And I know if I see will, it must be in the future because I could add the word tomorrow. Miss Bacon and Aaliyah played Scrabble. Aaliyah won. There's 2 verbs here. Go ahead and find them. Yep, it's played and won. What tense are both of those verbs in? I see that one has an ed and one doesn't, but I know I could add the word yesterday to both of them. So even though one doesn't have ed, I just know that it's still in the past tense because I could say Aaliyah won yesterday or they played yesterday. So both of those words are in the past. Kiwan will open a restaurant to serve his grandmother's grits. Action word there is will open or to serve, but we're going to focus on will open. And I know when I see will, it's in the future because I could add the word tomorrow. It's quite enough. Hasina roasted a chicken to feed the class for lunch. Action word there is roasted. I see ed there. And I know I could add yesterday. So that must be in the past tense. Cool. Nice job, guys. We have one more activity to do here. We're going to move on to the next page. Okay, you should be following along in your book. So here it says that we need to count how many verb tenses we notice. So first I want to go through and I want to underline all of the different verbs I see. Remember, verbs are action words. So let's see if we can talk about it and figure out what are things that we could do or be in these sentences so we can figure out where all of the verbs are. Yesterday, I went to the store because I know I can go to the store to buy some groceries. I am going to get some milk, bread, eggs, and lettuce. Are any of those verbs? Nope. First, I go to the milk section to pick out the milk. I can go. Sorry, guys. I go to the milk section to pick out the milk. Now, do you think to pick out is a verb? Is that something I can do? Yes, it is. While I was there, remember, it's not just something you can do, it's something you can be. I ran into my friend, and we talked for a while. Then I went to get the bread. Can you go somewhere? Yep. Now, that might be a little tricky because you might say, oh, I can't went somewhere, but you can actually say I went. That's a thing that you do, it's an action. It's just the past tense of the verb go, to get the bread. I can't decide. Decide is something I can do. If I want is something I can do. Wheat bread or white bread. After I gather all of my groceries and pay for them, another thing I can do. Now, notice how I skipped groceries. Can I groceries? Nope, I can just gather them or pay for them or get them. I'm going to head home. Okay, so now that we've underlined all of these many verbs, let's talk about what tense they might be in. Yesterday, I went. Now, that one's easy because it already says yesterday, so I know it's a past tense verb. To the store to buy some groceries. Now, to buy is actually the verb in its normal form. So that is just the verb. It's called the infinitive. When you talk about a verb, you say it's to eat or to buy. So that is kind of like the present tense verb. It's kind of like the verb at its core, to buy some groceries. I am going to get. Now remember, if you say I am going or I will, it's in the future. So going to get is in the future. First, I go to the milk section. You could say I go right now, or I always go, so that's in the present, to pick out the milk. Again, if it has to at the front, then that is just the verb at its core. So to pick out is also a verb. Well, I was there, and I can say yesterday, so that's a past tense verb. I ran, also could say yesterday, so it's a past tense verb, into my friend, and we talked for a while. Now that's also a past tense verb. It has an ed, so that one's easy. Then I went, you could add yesterday, so it's a past tense verb. To get, also past tense, the bread. I can't decide. Now, that's something that's happening right now. Like right now, I cannot decide if I want. So both of those are present tense, wheat bread or white bread. After I gather, also in the present tense, because you could say I always gather or I gather right now my groceries and pay for them. Both of those are in the present tense. I'm going to head home. What tense do you think going is in? Is in the future tense because it's telling what I'm going to do after I do something else. And I could say tomorrow. All right, as a review, past tense is something that already happened, usually has ed, but not always. Present tense is something that's happening right now or always happens. And future tense is something that is going to happen or will happen in the future and always has going or will attached to it. Let's do one quick review of our word of the day. Dilapidated, falling apart, and usually identifies a building. All right, guys, have an awesome weekend. Thank you for doing Word Study with me.